Hello, welcome everybody to the Weekly Stash. This is episode 16, where we talk about everything going on in the comic book world. With me, as always, Ed Garrett, Joseph Gagel, writers of comics for TMStash.com. How are we doing tonight?
Doing
Pretty good,
great.
guys. How's it going?
Awesome. Well, we have been struggling for topics this evening because this is not such an exciting week for comics. But we shall progress anyways and push forward and find other things to talk about. Because we do still have comics coming out this week, just not so many good ones. But let's start off this week talking about what happened in the movie world. We still have X-Men that is destroying the box office. It was actually finally dethroned. Well, second week dethroned by Disney's, what is it,
Maleficent.
Maleficent? And I don't know. Angelina, I don't have kids yet, so yeah, but Angelina Jolie, it's supposed to be really good from what I hear. But yeah, that dethroned X-Men Futures Past still made 32 million, but still grossed 500 million worldwide. So it's pushing on strong and doing well. Everybody go see it. I'm sure everyone that would be watching has definitely seen this amazing movie. And we talked a little bit about it last week. So if you want to hear us talk about it more in depth, check out last week's episode. But most interesting thing that happened this week, or this past week, was the Daredevil casting, where Charlie Cox was actually cast as Daredevil. I don't think anyone really predicted this, as Charlie Cox really isn't known for doing too much outside of Boardwalk Empire, where he played, was it Owen? Owen, yeah, I think it was like Owen Slater. So, yeah, that was kind of a weird casting. This will kind of be his breakout role. What do you guys think of the casting?
Well, I think I think he looks like he can do a good job. Obviously, since it's going to be a Netflix series, they're probably going to be going after guys like him who are, kind of new on the scene. Buy them cheap, make them big, make money off of them. And with it coming out next year, I'm pretty excited to see the Man Without Fear.
Yeah. I think he's a pretty good shot here of being okay. He's done a good job before, so we'll see what happens here.
I thought it was really good in Boardwalk. A very, very different role, as he plays a very quiet, dark role as Owen Slater. But he was really good. So this will definitely be different show for him. But he looks pretty solid, and Netflix does such a good job with their series. I think that the series as a whole is in good hands. So I look forward to seeing what they're going to do with this. So we should see that here. Let's see if I can get a date as to when that's supposed to come out, because I am not too sure. Yeah, debut in 2015. So still got some time, but looks good. So enough about movies and TV, since all of our awesome television shows are over, because we got by May sweeps.
I just remembered another good one. Josh Brolin as Thanos.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Oh, wow.
That was
Big Brother Brand from Goonies gets a big role.
What do you think of that? You think Brolin's gonna be good?
I really do. Big Goonies fan, but since then he's had several other decent roles. The controversial Jonah Hex. Some people like it, some people didn't. I thought it was all right. He was recently in the Americanized version of Old Boy, which I haven't got to see yet, but I would really like to see it. And I want to say I caught him in Planet Terror back a few years back, 4 or 5 years ago, and I think he's a good choice. He was in line to play Batman before Batfleck got it, I think. So I think he's got the chops for it, and another good name for the film. And they did say he will be in Guardians of the Galaxy. So
yeah, I think that's probably the most important news, is that the kind of what we had alluded to, or you specifically, Joe, had alluded to a few weeks back, that we pretty much figured that they're going to have to bring in Thanos at some point for the movie, and it looks like that is going to be our our main character, or our villain, if you will.
I think he's supposed to be a maybe not the main villain, but like the puppeteer, if you will. I think Ronan the Accuser is supposed to be the main antagonist, but I think they're for setup of the man behind the curtain.
Right. Right. So that'll be good. Looks like they're at least setting themselves up to make multiple movies. So uh, I like it. I like it. He's pretty cool. I like Josh Brolin, so I think he'll do a good job. All right, Mr. DC, do you have any opinions on this?
Actually, yeah, I could see him doing a great job there. I'm still waiting to see what Batfleck does, and hopefully Affleck will do well. But I almost wish Brolin had gotten that role. So yeah, that sounds like a pretty cool deal.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's gonna be cool. I can't wait. Said it numerous times. Can't wait. It's gonna be amazing. Gonna be my favorite movie of the summer. Right now it's X-Men, but it will be Guardians for sure. All right, let's dive into comics now. Glad you remembered that, Joe. That would have been terrible. But what do we got? What do we got this weekend, Ed? Going on or lack thereof with what you're calling the disappointing DC week?
Well, it's what's upcoming that's disappointing. Last week they had Superman Doomed continuing, where Superman demands an interview with Lois Lane. He's kept in the prison that Lex Luthor had previously designed for himself. And he wants to have her tell the world that he can no longer be trusted. It's an interesting little twist. So I like that part. The part of the book that I'm having struggling with is actually a subplot that predates the Doom storyline, and that's what I've been calling the Laniac storyline, where she's half Brainiac these days. Giving her psychic powers, it worked really well for a while. I'm ready for that part of the storyline to be done. I don't think you need to take a character that is as awesome and amazing in her own right as Lois Lane and give her some sort of fake powers that's taking over her body to make her an awesome character. This is the best reporter on the planet, someone with a great drive, a tremendous attitude, a passion for the truth. You don't need to mess with the character in that way, in my opinion. So I'm hoping they'll get that storyline out of the way. Batman Zero Year was really good last week, and I'm really enjoying that. They've turned it. You really can't make a villain as mammoth as the Joker, but they've certainly done a great job elevating the Riddler as a villain. You'll never look at him the same way again if you've been reading Zero Year. And then over at The Flash, I want to come back to this one, is that there's still some controversy regarding the new Wally West. Coming up this week, and I love DC, have for 50 years, but there's just not a lot coming out this week that's got me really hyped up. The next chapter of Doomed is out. Glad to see that. I'm anxious to see what Earth 2 turns into, but there's a couple of books like Justice League 3000 I've given up on, and I hate to say that about any comic, but it's basically not clones, but some sort of parasite that people willingly take on that destroys their own identities and turns them into some sort of copy of former Justice Leaguers. And every time I look at it, I keep thinking, we gave up the Legion of Superheroes to read this book. So I'm really not looking forward to that at all. In fact, I'll probably skip that one. It's just a week where if you're really into comics, there may be one or two DC books worth picking up, and the rest of it I'd highly recommend some indies. Let me come back to Wally West, because that's a real big deal right now in DC Comics. There's only one or two more characters left that people saw before the New 52 that they still want to see come back. Donna Troy being one of them that's still not back. But the reason folks wanted Wally West back was he was the Flash that an entire generation grew up with. He took over nearly 30 years ago and slowly developed into an amazing character. And in the New 52, he doesn't exist. His wife and kids don't exist anymore. And they decided to bring him back as a teenager, still the nephew of Iris West, but biracial and with a definite attitude where he does not like the Flash. for reasons that are shared by a lot of folks in Central City right now. The Flash was not there to save them when the crime syndicate came in. He's also mad at the Flash because he arrested his Uncle Daniel, who, Wally does not know, is the Reverse Flash in this continuity. But the fact that he's not red-haired and green-eyed and married with 2 kids and with the same personality has a lot of Flash fans very much up in arms right now. If you read the comments over at some of the Flash fan sites, you'll see that. I'm still in a wait and see because change is a part of comics. I've been reading it for 50 years. I recognize that. I like the idea of greater diversity in comics, and if you're going to do that, to me, this is sort of the DC version of the Nick Fury thing, where you had Nick Fury Jr. coming in and a way of bringing some greater diversity to Marvel's cast of characters. And if you're going to do something in DC with an established character, Wally was one of the very few who wasn't already reintroduced. He's a significant name, and so I'm glad to see this to that respect. I just want to see how they write him. Right now, you can take all the lines he's had in all the comics he's appeared in, and it still wouldn't fill a page. So all the folks who are really upset, I would just say, wait and see. Let's see if they write him as a good character. If they bring in some good storylines, I think he'll still be good. But, you know, I understand folks who hate change, they're not going to like this. But it's stirring up a lot of...
But you're changing such an important part of what he was, so I can't really blame people for being upset. I mean, I'm not a huge Flash fan, so I just kind of want to play devil's advocate here for a second, because I completely can understand why some people would be a little PO'd about it.
Well, I mean, I get it too. When I was growing up, and I've said this on an earlier podcast, my first real anger at comics came in 1969 when they had Robin grow up, leave Gotham City, go off to college, and Batman moved downtown out of the Wayne Manor and into an apartment. And then they turned the Teen Titans, including Kid Flash, which was Wally West at the time, into pacifists. They literally gave up their costumes and tried to figure out how to deal with bad guys without actually hurting anybody. And I was completely angry. But if we hadn't gone through those changes, you would have never had Nightwing, which has been one of the really popular characters. I do need to come back to Nightwing in a minute. But you wouldn't have had a lot of the other stuff that was really awesome. Barry Allen dying in Crisis on Infinite Earths really upset me, but if we hadn't had that, we wouldn't have had Wally West growing up and becoming the character that everybody loves. And truly, they're not trying to please my generation, and they're not trying to please the present generation of Wally fans. Our generations are mostly no longer reading comics. I'm a throwback. I'm an anomaly, and I recognize that. They're trying to bring in new fans. They're trying to bring in younger fans. They're trying to bring in a greater diversity in their fan base, which I think is needed for comics to survive. So I don't think they're really caring about if they make older fans who are fading away happy or not. And I understand their anger. I understand their frustration. I just hope that this is for a good reason and that we get a good character out of it. And the jury's still out on that part, so I'm waiting to see. I am hoping to catch... We've got Heroes Con coming up later this month in Charlotte, and one of the Flash writers, Van Jensen, who writes with Robert Venditti, is going to be there, so I'm hoping to get a chance to grab a few minutes with him and get some opinions on a few things. So we'll see.
That'll be interesting.
Oh, yeah.
All right, and well, that pretty much wraps up the Flash.
Yeah, Nightwing.
Yeah.
They have the last issue of Nightwing out. He did live, but the world still thinks he's dead, and they're getting ready to bring out another series called Grayson, where he's infiltrating a spy agency called Spiral, who's intent on outing every superhero's identity in the world. So I hope it'll be good. We'll see. At least they didn't kill him off, and I'm glad they didn't kill him.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Joe, what do you have coming up? What did you have last week? I know we had Guardians last week. We were talking about that a little bit in the pre-show and some Fantastic Four stuff. Guardians was kind of interesting.
Yeah, Steven, Guardians started kind of a new story angle after the trial of Jean Grey. In this story, the team is joined by members Venom and Captain Marvel, but before that can happen, apparently the team has been split up. They've been held captive by what seems to be the leaders of the four corners or five corners of the galaxy, if you will, and kind of leaving Venom out on a kind of a goose chase, just looking for him. And then you've got on the cover of this latest issue, number 15, it features Captain Marvel, and it even says, "And now Captain Marvel." But I didn't see Captain Marvel one bit in the issue, so I don't know if that was a oops or a
misprint. It had to be a misprint.
Left a page out, but it's pretty neat because to me it kind of throws a new story. Just when you think they're coasting on, coasting out of danger and into the sunset, they're thrown right back into the oven. And I didn't even think about this to begin with, and so I think it's a pretty neat story that'll kind of, these two new characters will probably help bring them all together and get a payback on the galaxy. I want to say it's the Gladiator, because towards the end of the trial of Jean Grey, he swore the Guardians would pay for their transgression upon him and the Shi'ar. So we need to see how this story unravels. And in Fantastic Four has been pretty good. Issue number 5, they're going to trial for all the things and the collateral damage that the city has had to suffer in the Baxter Building. Reed Richards keeps inventions, gateways to the galaxies, just stuff like that. That just things happen and then the city's destroyed and the city is safe. But what about everybody who has to pay to suffer everything? And not just only that, the council also explores times like when Ben Grimm gets mad and throws a car down the road because he's mad. They're taught. They even bring up stuff like that has nothing to do with crime fighting. And the cities they make a good enough complaint and grievance that it seems they don't really. They talk about it, but they don't really say exactly what happens. But it seems like the city wins, and I'm not sure exactly what they all lost, but the first thing and the most important thing that the courts have taken away from them are their children, the future foundation. And they placed them in the custodial hands of Jim Hammond, who is another Human Torch from the All New Invaders series. So it's kind of like we're in good hands, but they're in a bad place now. They've taken their kids away, and they may have even taken the Baxter Building away. The courts are winning, and this could be the end of the Fantastic Four. So it's been pretty neat.
That's crazy to think about. But
and Johnny Storm has lost his powers too. I forgot to mention that. So I mean, they're in a mess.
Yeah, that's nice that they have that kind of plot twist in there for Fantastic Four to kind of see where that's going to go. But more importantly, what about Guardians? Let's get back to Guardians, because I thought Guardians was kind of boring.
Well,
it set up a new. I mean, it was a boring. It was a plot setup issue, which are always boring for me. But
I kind of liked it on the sense that you kind of see where everybody is, and they're showing you a lot without telling you a lot, I guess.
Yeah.
That's the smoke and mirrors and the sleight of hand here. But I kind of like it. I'm a big Venom fan, so I like getting a chance to see how he's going to be integrated into this team, and I'm really hoping that we get like a Planet Symbiote story or something like that around, in and out of all this. Just wish they would have had more Captain Marvel.
or some
little bait and switch there.
Had to be a misprint. So yeah, it'll probably say that on the next issue too, and maybe we'll actually get to see it.
This was the wrong cover.
Yeah, my bad.
Although I did like the last page there where you saw Star-Lord kind of give in and say, okay, I guess I'll do it your way, and then when he got the slightest idea that things might be okay, he was like, "Oh, screw it," and he just jumps out the window.
I'm gone.
So,
See you later.
You know, back in the Silver Age, they used to do a lot of covers that were sort of goofy like that. They would give the cover artist just, we want you to have Superman on the cover, and they wouldn't really give them a good idea what the story would be. And so sometimes the cover would literally be the exact opposite of what their actual story was. But,
I think they still do that today in a lot of books.
yeah.
But what do we got going on next week, guys? Or lack thereof.
Oh.
Go ahead, Ed.
Okay. Over in DC, of course, Superman Doomed. It'll be Action 32 Doomed, and that and Batman Eternal will probably be my major purchases for DC this week. I want to come back to Valiant because I want to hit them just really hard in just a minute because I love their books. But Vampirella comes back with Volume 2. Nancy A. Collins is writing it. She's a great horror writer. She had done some work on Legends of Red Sonja anthology series, did Red Sonja Berserker, and they've handed her the keys to the kingdom with Vampirella. And we can't give any spoilers right now for their issue that comes out Wednesday, but oh my goodness, it's going to be really good. Just trust me on that one. Black Bat comes out from Brian Buccellato, also from Dynamite. Image has got Nailbiter #2, Rise of the Magi #1, and Witchblade coming back. And then Project Black Sky at Dark Horse has got Blackout and Ghost coming out, and I love the Project Black Sky lineup. It's looking really good. But let me talk about on Valiant, because last week we were talking about if you're recommending indie comics, what would you recommend? And there's so many of them out there, it's sort of hard to come up with one list for everything. But let me hit Valiant first. It's the most cohesive superhero universe published by anyone, period, including the big two. They don't publish a huge number of books. Every book they have is quality. I have yet to read a bad issue of anything from Valiant. Since they've been relaunched in the past couple of years, they have just really done a wonderful job of bringing in great artists, great writers, excellent storylines. Whether you're looking at Exo Man of War, which is going into Armor Hunters this summer, Robert Venditti, who also writes The Flash, is on that one. Whether you're looking at Unity with Matt Kent writing it, whether you're looking at Bloodshot, which Christos Gage is on, or you look at some of their lighter fare. Quantum and Woody is out this coming week. It's advertised as the world's worst superhero team. Someone should make a movie out of this one. It's hilarious. James Asmus, Gambit does that one. And then Fred Van Lente on Archer and Armstrong. That was my first and still favorite Valiant book. Archer was raised in a fundamentalist theme park, didn't understand anything about the outside world, finally realized he had been set up by a sect that had nothing to do with Christianity or evangelistic faith or anything else. He was just set up to be an assassin, and he winds up teaming up with his supposed target, Armstrong, who is this basically immortal drunken sailor who is he's hilarious. They really make great books. They're actually going to team up Archer and Armstrong and Quantum and Woody in August with a series called The Delinquents. But they've got, between Exo Man of War, Harbinger. They're instead of, they don't call them mutants, it's psiots, people with enhanced abilities. And Harbinger is a group of teenage psiots that are fighting against Toya Harada, who's like the big bad guy, the most super powerful psiot in the Valiant universe. And they had a major battle this past week in Harbinger 23 where one of the Harbingers, one of the renegades, actually dies. And in the Valiant universe, they're promising dead means dead means dead. And I have a feeling they're going to keep their word on this one. But they write exceptionally good stories. They have fantastic artwork in all of their stories. They've managed to tie all of the books together in a way that few other universes have managed to do. And for anybody who's jumping on to Valiant, the first page of every Valiant book gives you a summary of where that series is up to date, so that there is never a place where you're catching in and going, oh my gosh, I feel real lost. They really take care of their customers. They take care of their readers. And if somebody is wanting to get into indies and loves superhero titles, this is the first place I would send them. Valiant just does exceptionally good books. And this week is Quantum and Woody and Rai, R-A-I, I always mispronounce it, but that second book is set way in the future in the 4000s, and there is a major spoiler in there for a character who has managed to live until then, and if you're a Valiant fan, you won't guess which character it turns out to be. But again, no spoilers, but when you read this Wednesday, you're going to freak. They'd be surprised at who survived that long and what role they've got to play in the universe at that point. So check out Valiant. It's more than worth it.
Yes, it is indeed. Very much so. We say it a lot, but it is. So, Joe, what do you got coming up this week?
This next week, Stephen, for you, Cyclops #2. New Warriors #6. Original Sin continues on with the third issue in their main story. Punisher #6. Moon Knight #4. Miles Morales Ultimate Spider-Man #2, which should be pretty good because Peter Parker just shoved back up for some of his gadgets. See how that works out. And Magneto #5, which has been really neat because he's kind of back on his mean streak, killing lots of people who are doing his kind wrong.
Awesome. So, like I said, not a lot happening this upcoming week outside of what Valiant's always doing every week, which is bringing out awesome books. So be sure to go grab them. But that pretty much wraps up everything that we have going on this week. So go grab some Valiant comics and some other books, and keep reading the stash. Thanks so much, guys. Have a good night.
Thanks a lot.